Hey, this is Tony Ross for TonyTeach.com, and I want to show you how to use Animate and using stop motion keyframes versus using tweens. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day, and he was looking at one of the pieces I worked on. He says, dude, you're constantly motion tweening like crazy, and sometimes you don't even need that. And admittedly so, yes, I do use a lot of motion tweens. Some people use those exclusively. And quite frankly, I use them in Animate because Animate handles them very well. Unlike some other programs that will remain nameless that can kind of really junk up your work, especially if you start swapping around drawings. But I used to do this type of work a lot where you use stop motion keyframes. And I want to show this tutorial on just simply throwing a baseball. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to open up a document here that already has my pieces set up for me in my camera view, just on one drawing layer right now. I'm going to turn off my animate button, and I'm going to start building out my layers here. The first thing, let's go ahead and do a drawing layer. I'm just going to click and add a drawing layer on our timeline. And let's change the name of this to hand. Okay. And I want to grab my select tool and select the hand that's holding the ball here in our camera view. And I'm going to cut that. So I'll do Command X. And on our hand layer, I'm going to go ahead and paste that. So select this in our timeline and Command V. And I want to go back to the original set of drawings here. Let's grab the second hand that doesn't have the ball. And we'll cut this, Command X. It's Control X on PC. And what I want to do is select the second frame on our hand layer in the timeline. And let's go ahead and paste this, Command V. And let's zoom in on our camera view. And I want to make sure that these hands are lined up. So let's select our hand here, working in our camera view. And I'm going to move this over till it lines up pretty much with the first hand there. Okay. And looks like I might have to rotate a little bit. I think that'll work. Just the wrist is lining up, so that'll work pretty good there. I'm just going to change it a little bit. All right. So the next thing I want to do is create another drawing layer in the timeline. So let's add a drawing layer, and we'll call this forearm. And quite frankly, both of these arms that you can see in the camera view here, they're identical. There's nothing really different about them. So I'm going to go ahead and cut one of these. Let's do Command X and paste it, Command V on the forearm layer. Let's zoom out in our camera view here. And then I'm going to go ahead and place that so it's right at where it connects right to the hand. And we'll select the other part of the arm. This is going to be the upper arm. And let's go ahead and cut that, Command X. And let's create a new drawing layer. And this will be called upper arm. All right. And in our camera view, let's go ahead and move that upper arm so it's lined up perfectly with the forearm. Okay, so we have all our pieces set up. And last but not least, let's add another layer for our ball. So we'll change the name to drawing layer to ball. And what I want to do for the very first frame of ball is we're going to right click on that first frame, and in drawings we're going to say create an empty drawing. Okay, then we'll use our select tool. Let's go ahead and grab the baseball drawing from the original layer, and we'll cut that, Command X. Now on the ball layer, let's select frame 2, and we will paste the ball there, Command V. Now the ball's not supposed to be there at the beginning, which is why we created the empty drawing there. So we'll go back to first frame here, and let's grab the ball that's actually speeding away, and we'll cut that, Command X, and select frame 3 of the ball layer, and go ahead and paste that. Okay, so next step, let's go ahead and start building our hierarchies. We can turn off our original drawing layer, and the hand is going to be parented to the forearm, and then the forearm will be parented to the upper arm. So what we're going to basically do on our timeline, select the hand layer, I'm going to click and push this directly up under the forearm layer. Okay, make sure we're looking at frame 1 so we can see what we're doing. And then the forearm layer, we'll click that and move that directly under the upper arm layer. All right, now what's very important for this is that we make sure our pivot points are set up correctly. So we'll select the hand layer, and let's turn on our pivot. And we're going to come over here, and this should pivot right at the wrist. Okay. And we're going to make sure that this is actually, we have that pivot set up for drawing 1 and 2 of the hand there. Okay. And the forearm should be right at the elbow. All right, let's click on the upper arm layer on the timeline, and the pivot point for the upper arm should be right at the shoulder. Okay. And pivot point for the baseball, we're going to click it pretty much dead center. All right. So all of those are done. And we're going to go ahead and collapse the upper arm, and let's drag the baseball a little bit lower so have everything going here. And just to make sure everything is going to work for this animation, we want to select all 60 frames. So we'll select frame 60 on all of our layers. Hold on my Shift key. And I'm going to insert frames and extend this by simply pressing F5. Okay. And we have drawing substitutions happening, but we want to make sure these happen when we want them to happen and not just right now. So on the hand layer, I want to select frame 2, and I'm going to simply use my bracket keys on the keyboard to change what drawing substitution I'm using. I'm going to simply press the open bracket key to make sure that is the same drawing for all 60 frames. And on the ball layer, we'll select frame 2, and I'll do the open bracket key again. This is moving it back 1 frame. And then on frame 3, I'll press the open bracket key twice to go back to 1 frame. And if you want to see exactly what you're doing, select the library And you can actually view, once you're using your open and close bracket keys, opening and closing, that's going to pretty much move it back and forth between the different drawing substitutions. Okay? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a peg for all of these. So I'm going to select the upper arm layer. Let's create a peg. I'm going to go ahead and change the name of this on our timeline to, let's call it throw. Okay. And I'm going to make sure, let's go ahead and collapse this. We'll make sure that even the ball is under that peg there. And I still want to make sure the upper arm's above that. Okay. Now, the beauty of having a peg is I can now move this entire, pretty much the entire ensemble here, just up a little bit, because I want it to be a little more in the frame. And let's go ahead and get this positioned. All right, now under animation, I have selected Stop Motion Keyframe. Now, if this is not selected, you're going to end up doing motion tweens. But for this exercise, I'm just going to be doing Stop Motion Keyframes. So what I want to do is, first off, I'm going to start using some little keyboard shortcuts here. And I have the peg selected, so everything is selected. But what I want to do right now, I'm either going to be selecting B or Shift B. Now, Shift B basically starts moving down the hierarchy. So we have the peg selected right now, but if I hold on my Shift key and press the letter B, it moves from the peg to the upper arm. And if I do Shift B again, it's moving from that point to the forearm, so I can start moving that. And if I do Shift B one more time, it goes straight to moving the hand, okay? And to move back up the hierarchy, I'll simply press the letter B. So that's the forearm and hand. Press B again, that's the upper arm, and that's parent and everything. And if I press the B key one more time, it goes to the peg. So I'm going to be using that a lot, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on our animate, and we'll set a keyframe for the very first frame here. Let's do F6, and this first arm looks a little bit stiff, so I'm going to do Shift B, and I'm going to rotate the whole arm here just a little bit further ahead, and do Shift B one more time, and I'll bring the arm back. So it's a nice little bend there. Shift B one more time, and I'll move the hand back a little bit. So it's got a nice little curve going on. And I'm going to let it hold that pose till about frame 10. And at frame 10, what I want to do is I'm going to press the letter B and move back up here a little bit. Pretty much so I'm pressing the letter B until I have the upper arm selected. So I'll rotate that backward. And if you note, as soon as I rotated that backward, we have a keyframe there. And I've had my onion skin turned on so I can see exactly what the previous frame was. And let's do Shift B so we can grab the forearm and arm. And we'll bend that back a little. And do Shift B one more time. And we're going to bend the hand back almost to the point that Looks almost like it's broken there. All right. All right, so we'll move a little bit further ahead. I'm going to go about 4 frames here. And what I also want to do is I want to make sure the onion skin is on for my other layers. So I'm not seeing a lot of movement there. So we'll open this up and make sure the upper arm and everything basically has its onion skin turned on. So at frame, I think we're about frame 14. What we want to do is do Shift B, and we want to rotate the arm toward like the ball is being about to be thrown. And I'll do Shift B one more time. I'm going to kind of break the joint here so the ball, excuse me, so the arm is actually bending a little more backward. To do Shift B one more time. And about by frame 20, what I want to do is I'm going to press the letter B and move up a little bit in the hierarchy and bring the arm straight down and do Shift B so the arm straightened out that way. And I want to do Shift B one more time and rotate the hand kind of downward. Now what I'm doing at this point, it's pretty much that the ball is already going to be thrown. So while the hand is selected, we're going to substitute our drawing. I'm going to do open bracket, I'm going to do close bracket to move forward once. And we'll do Shift B one more time here. Let's make sure our drawing is selected. Let's do Shift B. And we'll bend the arm down a little bit. So I'm just going to scrub this, see what that looks like. And a couple of frames later, let's do frame 24. I want to rotate the arm all the way down. All right, so let's play this and see what it looks like. All right, it's looking okay, except for it's looking extremely stiff. All the positions are correct, but it's very stiff. So here's the beauty of what we just did. We'll stop this, and we'll come here and move our keyframes on our peg layers. Let's close it up. Move our keyframes a little closer. And we'll play this again. All right, so it looks like these last two need to be moved even closer. So we'll do that. We'll bump all these keyframes together. All right, let's stop for a second. And I think I'm going to give them a little bit of space, just every other frame, perhaps, especially for the last ones, like let it go slow and then it actually speeds up. So I'm going to play this one more time. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So basically everything's holding still. Then we get to frame 13 and we're pulling the arm all the way back. And then we're going to hold that for one frame. The next frame, we're moving it way forward, and we're breaking the joint a little bit, kind of bending the hand backward. And the next drawings, it's like we're not actually showing the arm straight out with the ball coming out there. We're actually skipping that frame. And that's going to give some power to where we're going to add in the baseball. And these two are actually right next to each other, so it actually speeds up. All right. Now, let's open up our peg. And about right here is where we want to, let's see, I think we're at frame 17 on our timeline. I'm going to select the ball layer. So about right here is where we want the ball to come in. So I'm going to use my close bracket key and go ahead and select our baseball here. And thinking of the first one is going to be just a little bit out from where the hand released it. Okay. Now, what I want to do at this point, I'm going to undo where that's moved, and I'm going to turn off my animate for a moment. Now, the reason is I don't want it just to move there for that frame. I actually want it to kind of go there kind of on a permanent basis. So I'm going to turn off the animate button, and we'll select the baseball again. And I'm going to drag this down again a little bit further ahead. So now if I scrub, the ball is actually going to stay exactly at that point. All right, ball is there. And the next frame, what I want to do is press my close bracket one more time. And we actually have the third frame, which is the speeding ball. And let's go to the next frame, and we'll do a keyframe. Let's do F6. And this one I do want to turn my animate back on. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit. So the ball is going very, very fast. And the last keyframe here, what I want to do is press the bracket twice to go back to the original, where the original is where we have our empty drawing frame there. All right, so now if we play this, make sure the ball's not selected. All right, and there you have it. Now, I'm looking at this and thinking, it's okay, but I think I want the ball to be released a little bit higher. So I'm going to turn off my animate button again. And right where the ball first comes in, let's select this. And I want to move the ball up a little bit. So what's cool about this is I'm moving all the frames, and this is why I turn off my animate button. And let's play this and see how this looks. Okay, I think that works a little better. All right, and so there you have using stop motion keyframes, and it's pretty cool to do, and it's something nice to know, and you can kind of mix using motion keyframes and stop motion keyframes to have a really beautiful effect. So hope you'll try this out, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, be sure to go ahead and favorite and like this video. Be sure to also follow us on Twitter and friend us on Facebook. We'll be showing certain exclusive deals on Facebook and letting our fans know when they can get discounts and when new DVDs are coming out, and we let all of our fans know ahead of time. So this has been Tony Ross for TonyTeach.com. Remember, keep it simple. Make it perfect. If you don't have time to make it perfect, rethink the idea. Have a good one.